I'm a book pirate.
Ba-doop.
Hey guys, so today I'm going to be talking about this monster, this thickums, Stephen King's 11/22/63. So I read this book as a buddy read with my friend Jack. So in this video, you're going to hear about the book, her thoughts, and mine. So let's just get into it. This book is essentially about time travel. And it is a historical fiction time travel novel, but it's also a thriller novel. So I'm going to tell you the bare bones beginning because I don't want to ruin it for anyone. And then we'll talk about how I felt about it. So the book starts out with our main character, Jake Epping. He is a high school English teacher. He is grading papers and talking about a student, thinking about a student that really meant a lot to him. He's going about his day-to-day business, school is ending, and he gets a phone call from a good friend, Al, who owns a local diner, which everybody loves to go to because the food is delicious and extremely cheap. I'm talking dirt cheap in 2011, like dirt cheap. So he goes there and he sees his buddy who was healthy and relatively middle-aged, and he has aged a lot and looks very ill. And Al says, Jake, I need a favor. I need you to time travel. And that's all I can tell you. So that is essentially the book. He goes back in time, obviously, and his goal is to save and stop the assassination of Mr. JFK. So that is essentially the book, what it's about. So now I'm going to just tell you what I thought about it. It was so good. I have read and finished 3 Stephen King novels. This one, The Shining, and Pet Sematary. And out of the 3, I gave this one 5 stars. This was immaculate. It is very long. If you can't tell, it is a thickums. It's thick. It's a thickens. But there is nothing in this book I would change. Absolutely nothing. Not a sentence. Everything in this book needs to be here. And it is painstakingly researched by King himself. And he also had a woman that was helping him do it. I don't recall her name. And it was fantastic. Like, it's everything down to how much things cost then, and where things were, and type of dress and accents, and just everything about the time is just, it's perfectly accurate. And when I went into this, I knew a little bit about the assassination. I knew a little bit about Lee Harvey Oswald's murder. Just, I knew about that kind of stuff. But I learned things from reading this. And I don't think that was unintentional in reading this book. I think by reading this book, not only are you going to be hella entertained, you're going to learn some stuff, which is totally awesome, right? So that's that. I'm just going to throw it over to Jack, and then I'll give you my pros and cons.
Everybody over at Reading and Whatnot, I am Jack from Spread Book Joy, and I buddy read this with Ariel, and it was a great buddy read book. I just want to say it's the kind of book that keeps you thinking after you've read it. Definitely kept us thinking the whole way through when we were reading it. Lots to discuss, lots to ponder over. If you are interested in late 20th century history, the Kennedy assassination, who isn't interested in that? That's always something great to talk about. I actually learned a lot of things that I didn't have a clue about reading this book. Like, I didn't know much about Lee Harvey Oswald, and you find out a lot about him in this book. A lot of discussion about time travel and how your life is affected by other people and the actions that you have and the ripples that they create. It's action, it's thriller, it's political intrigue, it's time travel, it's historical fiction, it's a romance. It's actually a really good book, and what I would say is, unlike a lot of Stephen King books, it's very well structured. So yeah, highly recommend it. Hope you get to read it, and back to you, Ariel.
Thank you so much, Jack, for your insight. I appreciate it. I hope my viewers appreciate it. And if you haven't checked her out, please do, because she is fantastic. Her link is going to be down in the description, so check that out. If you've been watching me for a while, you know I like to start my pros and cons with the cons to end on a good note. So, cons. There are none. I couldn't find any. Next. Pros. So I have several, but I'm just going to give you a few. My first pro is the excruciating, painstaking detail that went into this book. He started writing this many years ago, and he put it down because he didn't think he could do it justice, and then picked it up later, and I am so glad he waited, because he had all of those years after it happened and people's reactions to things and things that were taught in school. He had all of that to go on, and I thought it was masterfully done. People say Stephen King's writing is above par, and in this case, for this behemoth, I agree with that. I totally agree. My next pro 2, is the character development in every character that we come in contact with. So we come in contact with a lot of characters, but we see the development of Jake and one other specific character more than the others, but every single character has some growth and a lot of depth to them. Jake, on one hand, he goes from being this, like, you know, guy who knows a lot, but he's not super sure of himself, and then he's like, okay, I know what I gotta do, I'm gonna go do what I have to do. But then things change, his life changes for the better in the past, and he's like, I love it here, I want to stay, but then the past is obdurate. It doesn't like to be changed, and that is something he has to fight with a lot within the past and himself. So I thought that bit was just phenomenal. My last pro is the ending. Now, like I hear that Stephen King's endings, and from the 2 books that I finished prior to this, his endings are always kinda, that's not his strong suit. And the 2 books that I have read, I didn't really care for the endings very much. But this book I did. But I'm wondering if it's because, this isn't really much of a spoiler to the story, but he had his son give him some input on it. His son, which you would know as Joe Hill. And I'm wondering if that would have changed the whole book for me if the ending was different. I think I still would have loved it, but if it would have been a Stephen King only ending, what would have that looked like for the book? What would he have gotten? So I absolutely love the ending, and it is a big pro for me that he let his son in on the project, which is totally great. So that is my review for 11/22/63 by Stephen King. I hope you really enjoyed it, and if you haven't read the book, read it. And if you have read it, please tell me about your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to go check Jack out. Have a great day, guys. Read books, read newspapers, read everything. Bye.